Hello. Here we are going to see the key concepts in linguistics in the second video in the series. Um, in Today we are looking at the concepts related to linguistics, which were laid down by Ferdinand de Saussure, the Swiss linguist. He passed away in 1913, and his ideas were published later on by his students, and they laid down the foundation of many of the very important developments in linguistics in the 20th century. Particularly, we should remember that until Saussure, until the early 20th century, linguistics was more about learning Latin and other languages, particularly the written works. And the written works were considered to be the standard kind of thing. And the varieties that often occur in actual speech or in different representations in writing even, which show any deviance from the supposed standard, were considered bad. But the fact of the matter is that in actual use, people use language in so much different ways. And it was Saussure who first seriously addressed this issue of looking at language that is actually used in life. And he is considered widely to be one of the founders of 20th century linguistics. Now, his book, which was published by his students, as I told you, two students, which is called Course in General Linguistics, which was published in 1916. It contains his lectures in the University of Genova from 1906 to 1911. And this is a book which you can download from the internet. I have given the link here in this page, but I'll give it after the video as well. You can download the book and you can read it online. It is surprisingly not very difficult to read and understand. It will be a good idea if you can at least go through the book called Course in General Linguistics. You don't have to read it cover to cover, of course. Well, according to Saussure, language is a system of signs that expresses ideas. The focus is on signs that expresses ideas. Ideas and signs should be kept in mind. So it's a signaling system. Language consists of auditory symbols or signs which are used to express ideas. And he goes into great detail about how this works. So one of the major concepts that Saussure brought forth is langue and parole. So let's look at what langue and parole is. These are not English words, but today it's so widely used in English as well. Langue and parole. Well, langue refers to the entire linguistic knowledge that a speech community has. For example, the Malayalam speakers of one part of Kerala will have a shared knowledge of the language. It will contain all the abstract rules related to the language, how it is pronounced, how the grammar should be, how the meaning should be conveyed using particular words, etc. All these unconscious rules related to a language that is shared by a community is called langue. Saussure compared langue to the rules that govern the game of chess that every player has in mind. For example, all the people who play chess knows the rules of how chess should be played. So this is something that is shared by all the people that play chess. The same way, all the users of a particular language will have a shared knowledge of the language, which Saussure called langue. And parole is again like the chess going with the chess analogy. Even though all the players of chess has ideas about how chess is to be played, every individual game will be different. It will have a totally different sets of unique moves. So parole is like the individual moves in a particular game of chess, while langue was the shared knowledge that all the chess players have about how chess should be played. So langue is, moving away from the analogy, langue is the shared linguistic knowledge of a speech community. Parole is the actual use that individuals make of that knowledge. So I share the knowledge of Malayalam with all the people living in the city of Trivandrum, or maybe all the people living in Kerala on a broader manner. And every speech I make, suppose I talk to my wife about something, or talk to somebody who has brought things for me, the courier boy, each utterance I make will be a parole, because each utterance will be different from any other utterance that has happened before. It's a new combination. So that is a parole. A parole is the actual and specific instance of speech by a member of a speech community. So it is the application of langue, that is parole. And remember, parole can be written or spoken. So if I write a sentence, that's also parole. My knowledge of how language should be written is there, Malayalam or English, and I write it, that will be a parole. A written expression or the spoken expression, an instance of the language is parole. So putting both langue and parole together, langue comprises the rules of grammar of a language, the syntax, the phonetics, the spelling, everything. This is totally unconscious. It's all in our minds, in our collective mind. Unconsciously, we have this knowledge. Parole is again not very conscious. We do not think when we speak. We just speak. So again, the unconscious rules come together in a specific combination, and we make an attempt at parole whenever we speak or write in a particular language. So language, therefore, is a combination of lang and parole. That's about lang and parole. Now we go to another concept of Saussure. Before I introduce that, let's look at this here again, the sentence of Saussure, that language is a system of signs that expresses ideas. Signs and ideas we should focus our mind on. So spoken language or written language occurs when ideas are communicated from the speaker to the listener using sound images or signs. So I say something and somebody else hears. So now I am speaking and you are listening to me. So this is communication. When language is spoken by me or written by me, it is picked up by the listeners. Language is a product of this kind of communication of signs. Now, Saussure says that a linguist, now we look at an individual word. Let's forget the long utterances that we are making. Look at the individual word. Saussure says that a linguistic sign is a word written or spoken is a combination of a concept and a sound image. Let's remember this. There's a concept and there is a sound image of that concept. Here you have a concept, the horse, the animal that in English we call horse. That is not horse. That is a horse only to the English people. It is kudira to Malayalam speakers. It could be something else to another speaker. So that is a concept. The animal that we see is actually a concept. And English people use the sound image called horse to represent this animal. The sound image is horse and the concept is this animal with certain given features. So Saussure says that a linguistic sign is a combination of a concept and a sound image. And he has names for this. For the sound image, he calls signifier. Normally we would say a word. So horse is a word. For the word, Saussure uses the word signifier because a word does not have a definite meaning. It just signifies something. Meaning is something that the speaker takes from the collective knowledge of his community or from the langue and he uses it. So signifier is the image we use for a concept. So for this animal, in Malayalam, I would use the signifier kudira. And this animal is the signified. To the Malayalam speaker, when I use the signifier kudira, this particular animal will be the signified. So rather than saying a word and its meaning, we talk about signifier and signified. Why is this so? So let's look at that in a little detail. Languages are made of linguistic signs. Signifier and signified are two aspects of the linguistic sign. So signifier is the word image and signified is the concept. Signifier is the word and signified is the meaning, to make it more simple. But that simple explanation is insufficient. That is why Saussure used the word signifier and signified. So signifier is a sound or image that we create while trying to convey an idea. For example, the word horse is a signifier. Signified is the particular animal denoted by the signifier as understood by that member of the speech community. To another speech community, the signifier horse need not signify a horse. So, as in the previous video, I talked about the word kalam. To a Malayalam person, the signifier kalam would refer to a kitchen utensil. To a Hindi speaker, the signifier kalam would signify a pen. See how it works there. So that is signifier signified relationship. We must remember that these concepts are not limited to linguistics alone. This later became some foundational principles of what is called structuralism. And so for students of theory, a good knowledge of Saussure will be of great help. Saussure in ideas, I mean. Now, but interestingly, as we repeatedly say, the relation between the word horse, which is a signifier, and the animal it denotes, which is a signified, is totally arbitrary. It becomes significant, it has significance only within a speech community. And in semantics, what we do is we construct the signified from signifiers with our knowledge of that language. Another concept of Saussure is synchrony and diachrony. This is about studying a language. This is an aspect of linguistics where we actually set out to learn a particular language. We can do it in a synchronous manner or in a diachronous manner. Synchrony is the study of a language at a particular period of time. Suppose I want to look at the grammar of the pronunciation of all the vowels in Malayalam during the immediate independence time, that is, say in 1947. Suppose I want to make a study of the vowels in Malayalam as they were pronounced in 1947. So I'll need to listen to audio recording is possible at that time, and I make a study of the pronunciation of that particular period of time, it will be it will be an example of synchrony. Or I look at the Malayalam slang words in Trivandrum today, this period of time, this particular point of time, that would be an example for synchrony. So it can be any period, maybe looking at Malayalam grammar 200 years back at a specific point, it is synchronous study. Synchrony is a study of language at a particular period of time. I will not make any comparisons with another point of time. It's not a historic study. It's a precise study during a particular point of time. I will only describe, I will say at this particular point of time, this particular vowel was pronounced with this quality, or that these and these slang words existed at that period of time. This kind of a linguistic study is involved in synchrony or a synchronic study of language. There is no description, there is only description and no comparison, no looking at history. Now, diachrony is a study of changes that happen in language over a period of time. Suppose I look at how Malayalam vowels have changed from 1947 to 2017, it would be a diachronic study. It is a diachronic study, it's a historic study, it will involve description and comparison. I will describe the features of the language at different points. I will also say this particular vowel has changed over the period of time to this degree, etc. So that is diachrony and synchrony. So synchrony is study of language at a particular point of time, and diachrony is the study of changes that happen in a language over a period of time. So let's look at this closer. Synchronic or static linguistics and diachronic linguistics. The two aspects which evolved, two aspects of linguistics, two kinds of linguistics that evolved from the ideas of diachrony and synchrony. Synchronic is called static because it's focusing on a specific period. Diachronic is called evolutionary because it covers a longer period. It's a For example, I study the changes in English vowel system from Shakespeare's time till the time of Tennyson would be a diachronic study. If I study the vowels of English during Shakespeare's time only, it would be a synchronic study. So here, the famous diagram where the synchronic axis is AB, which would be the study on a kind of synchronic level, deep descriptive study, and the diachronic axis is CD, which studies the historic path that the language has gone through over a period of time. Now, both synchronic and diachronic study is important. You need to have a good synchronic knowledge, only then you will be able to do a diachronic study. Okay, that is about two kinds of linguistics, diachronic and synchronic. Another concept of Saussure is syntagm and paradigm. Now, what is this? Now, language is a system of signs that expresses ideas. We repeat that. It's a system of it's a system of signs that expresses ideas. And syntagms and paradigms explain how signs relate to each other. So, we were talking about langue and parole. We were talking about signifier and signified. Particularly in signifier and signified, we talked about a word signifier and what it signifies. Here we look at signifiers put together, signs are put together in a sentence and how they are related to one another. So a sentence is a sequence of signs, each of which helps the others to create meaning to the listener. When these signs are seen in the sequence in which they are arranged in a sentence, the relationship is said to be syntagmatic. So here, she has bought a book. She has bought a book. Here, this sentence, she has bought a book, is a collection of a few words. She is there, has is there, bought is there, book is there. And the linear way in which these are arranged, syntagmatically they are arranged, she plus has plus bought plus a plus book, and it gives a particular meaning to the person who listens. This is syntagmatic relationship of these words. The one that gives you a definite bit of information is syntagmatic. Now, what is paradigmatic? Now, let's look at syntagmatic relationship in this particular diagram. Here you have the syntagmatic plane where it's like this, goes like this, and she has bought a book. The syntagmatic plane, the relation between these words, give you an idea that she has bought a particular book, and you understand that he probably paid money for that. Now, what happens in the paradigmatic plane? Once you have uttered a sentence, it will bring in a lot of associations. For example, she can be replaced with I or they, or a name like Sheila or John, and bought can be replaced with another concept which is borrowed, and books can be with a book can be replaced with several books. So one word that can be substituted with another word. In fact, all these things are processes that happen in our mind when we learn a language, and in order to give us the kind of analytic tool to study the way in which language is learned, language works, we have these expressions, syntagm and paradigm, and all these expressions of concepts of Saussure helps us understand how language works better. It gives us the tool, gives us the words, the vocabulary to talk about how language works. Okay, coming back to paradigm, a vast array of related possible utterances are possible from one sentence, and this dimension of the relationship between the original signs is called paradigmatic. You might find it a bit confusing. Let's look at syntagmatic relation here, syntagm. And syntagmatic, on the syntagmatic plane, the sentence she has bought a book gives you a meaning. Here is the paradigmatic plane, which works like this, horizontally. She can be replaced with I, she can be replaced with Gopal, she can be replaced with they, which you can replace it with any other pronoun or noun. And instead of has, you can have depending on whether it is she, I, he, singular, plural, etc. Instead of bought, you can use borrowed, you can use sold as synonym, a verb which will fit in that broad context. And instead of a, which signifies one, we can use several, we can use two, it can be anything like that. A number of associations come like this. And then instead of book, we can have other bits of stationery like pen or notepad, even things other than stationery. It can be a car, a book, or a table. It goes like that. Because the position where a particular word occurred in a sentence. In this paradigmatic plane, it gives us a lot of associations. In the syntagmatic plane, it gives us a definite meaning. So these are the concepts of the basic concepts of linguistics that have been given to us, or that we have gleaned from the work of Ferdinand de Saussure. We looked at langue and parole. Langue is the broad knowledge, and parole is an individual utterance. We looked at signifier and signified. Signifier is a word, and it's a word that signifies, and signified is the idea or the concept that is signified. And synchrony is the study of a linguistic aspect during a particular period of time. Diachrony or diachronic study is a study over a period of time. And syntagm and paradigm is the relationship of words within a sentence. The syntagmatic plane, which is uh, read from left to right, and the paradigmatic, it can work up down to give you a lot of associated words. So these are the concepts that we will look at today, and in the next video we will look at a few more concepts, particularly those related to Noam Chomsky and uh, his models of grammar and his concepts. That will be in the second video. In the next video. Thank you for watching. Keep safe.